So we're now going to analyze 2017 in more detail so that we're ready for what's about to happen. You will all recognize this chart, which is from the Exit Strategy series. And this is Bitcoin in 2017 with the two channels. From the correction of channel 2, liftoff takes us into cycle peak pretty quickly. And we have the big stupid green candles, which we're all watching and waiting for. This was 22% in a day and it was over 40% in 2 days. So we know that chart. I now want to look at this one, which looks complicated, but we'll talk through it. At the beginning, let's just focus on the blue line, which is Bitcoin. And you'll probably notice that because we have the two channels with the two corrections and from liftoff into cycle peak. This here is the big stupid green candle on the 6th and 7th of December. Now we have some more colors. We have 4 altcoins that existed in 2017. XRP, Litecoin, Dash, Cardano in orange, light blue, yellow, and purple. So we can look at the relative performance of them. And the way I want to do that is to line this chart up from liftoff, bottom of the channel 2 correction, which hasn't taken place yet. Let's zoom in and come over here. Where are we? So this is the bottom of the channel 2 correction. And this includes the peaks over here. What I first want to draw your attention to is how the blue line, which is Bitcoin, clearly outperforms the altcoins out of liftoff into Bitcoin's peak. So it went first, it outperformed all of them apart from this tiny area, but it's no problem. And then up to the peak, which happened earlier than any of these 4 altcoins. So the first point we can make is that from liftoff, the bottom of the channel 2 correction, that is not the place, or that is not the best place to be swapping any Bitcoin for altcoins, because you're going to miss out on this big run up in Bitcoin. So what is the best place to do it? What is the perfect entry? Where if we scroll across and we look at the big stupid green candle, and we already have our hint because we noticed the Bitcoin dominance in 2017 collapsed after the big stupid green candle. And that's exactly what we're looking at here. If I bring my cursor to here, and in fact, I'm going to create a line here, which I'm going to put in green. Because after this green line, if you follow my mouse down and you look at the yellow, which is Dash, the blue, which is Litecoin, the purple, which is Cardano, and XRP in the orange, you can see all 4 of them either immediately in Litecoin's case, a few days later in Dash's case, or let's call it, let's say 4 to 5 days later in XRP and Cardano's case. This is where they took off and made their massive moves, whilst Bitcoin had a correction, a few corrections into a peak. And for each of these 4, whether that was all of them, XRP, Litecoin, Dash, Cardano, they made massive moves over the next, that was the 7th of December, over the next couple of weeks. Now it's slightly different per altcoin. So this was never going to be easy. So let's look one by one. We'll start with, we'll do it in order of them, how they peak. So Litecoin, from the big stupid green candle, it had a massive run up. It peaked 2 days after Bitcoin. It then had a correction just like Bitcoin, and then followed Bitcoin's path. Because what Bitcoin did was have its peak, have its bounce, and then begin the bear market. Litecoin 2 days later, peak, correction, bounce, just in line with Bitcoin and bear market. Now let's look at the next one, Dash. So Dash just followed a few days later, had a peak a few days later again, and then followed a very similar pattern. So was peaking 4 days after Bitcoin, and then never made a new all-time high after that. The other two, XRP is different. So XRP was delayed, went about a week later or just before, had a couple of peaks around the Bitcoin peak, but then really had the run up after the Bitcoin peak when Bitcoin had her bounce. And that was over here. So XRP's all-time high was not until, let's call it the 3rd of January, almost a month after Bitcoin's, well, 3 weeks after Bitcoin's peak. And finally, Cardano. Cardano had a nice increase here during the Bitcoin peak, but then again, put in the all-time high way over here on the 4th of January. So what can we take from this? Well, we know that altcoins are peaking later than Bitcoin, whether it's a few days or a few weeks. We know that they generally follow the same structure as Bitcoin, where they have an increase and then a correction and then a bounce. But some altcoins, half of the ones I selected, made a new all-time high on the bounce, where Bitcoin didn't make a new all-time high. So for XRP and Cardano over here, the right exit was here. And I'm going to put that in red. Now, if you'd have exited your altcoins over here, you would have been very happy in XRP and Cardano, and you would have been happier to exit Litecoin and Dash over here. However, you may, if you'd have exited here, then if you'd have picked the ones that ended up peaking 2 to 3 weeks after Bitcoin, you'd have been very disappointed, because this is hundreds of % of potential gains. Now, this is difficult. It is really, really difficult. And this is why you should only be taking on altcoins if you have some level of confidence and if you have a high risk tolerance. That is what happened in 2017. I'm going to talk more about some specific altcoins in the next video, and then I'm going to give you my proposed exit strategy for altcoins based on the data that we currently have.